Good morning, my name is Laurel Callahan, and this is skedline.com. I have Nate Sager here with me. He's a lead blogger for Yahoo Sports, Buzzing the Net, and a football commentator for the University of Ottawa. He is joining us now from Skype. Mr. Sager, how are you today?
Good, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. As you know, the Red Blacks have one of the best receiving corps in the league, but the Eskimos also have one of the best defense. How do you see this playing out on Sunday?
It's going to be an interesting chess match between the physical Eskimos defense. Obviously, their cornerbacks Patrick Watkins and John Ojo aren't your typical, small, compactly built, cornerbacks. They're 6'5", 6'3", and it's going to be creating an interesting matchup for that, diverse Ottawa receiving corps that had 4,000-yard receivers during the season. But Greg Ellingson, Brad Snopley, Ernest Jackson, they're big guys. Chris Williams, even though he's undersized, is great at breaking jams at the line of scrimmage. I know the media seems to be about 95% picking Edmonton to win the game, but I'm one of the few people who's willing to, because I have nothing to lose, go out on a limb and take Ottawa. So it could be a bit of a shootout back and forth. It's not and we haven't had one of those in the Grey Cup for a great many years. But if Edmonton ends up winning 38-14, I guess this conversation never happened.
So what do you think of Henry Burris winning the Most Outstanding Player award?
It's warranted. Really, I mean, when you look at the numbers between he and Bo Levi Mitchell, who was the Western nominee, the Calgary quarterback, Burris certainly, 5,700 yards from a 40-year-old quarterback. That's a very seminal season, especially coming off a year where he only had 11 touchdown passes in Ottawa's.
Blacks head coach Rick Campbell also won Coach of the Year. Do you think these awards will help motivate the team a little more?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I always think if you need something that someone said about you, or an award which is ultimately a judgment conferred on you by an outsider, I think I think your motivation's lacking. It's got to come from within. I certainly wouldn't want to bestow that much importance on an award I voted for.
Who else should we be keeping our eye on in terms of players?
Well, there's going to be some big matchups. I think, obviously on Edmonton, one receiver, Darrell Walker, didn't really get going until after they had played Ottawa twice early in the season. He's someone who can stretch a defense, and they have a Darius Bowman, and Kendall Lawrence is a guy who can really create matchup problems because he's, a very slippery type, kind of a little bit like Darren Sproles in the NFL, that guy who catches the ball, but he's built more like a running back. And obviously Mike Riley, Edmonton's quarterbacks, had a great second half to the season. And it'll be interesting to see how he matches up against that Ottawa defense. They've got very good defensive backs with Javon Johnson and Abdul Kanay on the corners. And then we'll see how the Ottawa line, pass rush does against the Edmonton offensive line. Edmonton's got that big tackle, Matt O'Donnell. He's going to be responsible for blocking the two ends who kind of flip sides, Justin Capacchiati and Sean Lemon. Ottawa got great production out of their defensive end spots, but they didn't get a sack in the Eastern Conference Final last week. So it's going to be that's going to be something else to keep an eye on.
So was this the matchup you were hoping to see, or did you expect some other team to make it to the Grey Cup?
Once everything sort of started to go awry for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I mean, they had two quarterbacks go down. I sort of bumped Ottawa up to being the favorite to win the East. And it didn't surprise me at all that they won on Sunday. I think I was on the record saying 10-point win, and it's funny. Friend of mine who was like checking the point spread, he's like 6.5. Can Ottawa win by 7? I'm like, they can certainly win by 7, and they did. Just maybe not in the fashion we might have expected. But Edmonton certainly from the midpoint of the season or so, I think right around the time they beat Calgary on Labor Day and completely shut the Stampeders down on their own field, it became obvious Edmonton was the favorite to win the West.
So you mentioned before that Edmonton is the favorite to win the Grey Cup this weekend, and you said you will be voting for the Ottawa Red Blacks. Is that just because they're the underdog?
I just think they've got something going that's hard to, have in sports. Just that certain, irrefutable, ineffable, magic that teams have. And this isn't a best of seven series. It's a best of one, and strange things happen in the CFL. It's rare that both home teams win in the division finals. So maybe we're due for something unexpected. I also, maybe it comes from a little bit from the fact that it just feels like, because it's Ottawa's second year in the league, that people really haven't appreciated how far this team's come. I mean, it would have been really interesting if they could have played Edmonton like in September or October instead of July when they did play them, because they really hadn't found their stride yet. So that's just gives me the hunch that Ottawa is going to make this a much more competitive game than maybe some people are anticipating. But then again, if they haven't seen a defense like such as Edmonton's, so I mean that could create some havoc for them as well. I mean, I think they only scored one offensive touchdown in the two games against the Eskimos. I'm just saying they've come a very long way since then in pretty much all aspects of their offense, and many on defense as well too.
Thank you for all your insight, Mr. Sager, and I hope you enjoy the game on Sunday.
I shall. You're welcome, Laura.
Thank you.